Hey, I'm Aaron, kinesiologist from TriFit, and today we are doing a home cooking video of one of my favorite recipes that I discovered just a few weeks ago, and it's super easy to make. So I thought, why not go through what we're making today? It's a vegetarian recipe, and it is vegetarian pad see ew. I think I said that right. But it has tofu in it for protein, and it is super easy to make. It's really quick to make, and it is absolutely delicious. So without further ado, let's get into it. So for today's recipe, you're gonna need a few tools. Firstly, a wok. Go for a walk with your wok, but don't actually just keep it there. A frying pan. I prefer cast iron, but you're gonna need that as well. A pot for water. Pretty obviously straightforward. A cutting board. A chef's knife, or maybe multiple chef's knives, depending. If you decide to use chicken in this recipe, you may want to use multiple chef's knives, but if you're not, you can use tofu, and that works as well. So there we go. Chef's knife, measuring spoons, so you definitely are going to want that as well. And when it comes to ingredients, you are going to want white vinegar, soy sauce, dark soy sauce, oyster sauce, white sugar, and water. Eggs, extra firm tofu, rice noodles of some sort. I don't generally use the super thick ones. I happen to have these. They work just as well, so rice noodles. Now, most recipes call for Chinese broccoli. I wasn't actually able to find it at the grocery store, but really any sort of hearty leafy greens could work in this recipe. So right now I'm using bok choy. Swiss chard may also work well, but whatever you're looking for, anything like that will work. And last but not least, garlic. Now, before we get into actually cooking today, I do want to remind you that to make sure whenever we're using a kitchen, to do it in a safe manner, don't have children around, turn pot handles in, make sure your knives are actually sharp so you don't accidentally hurt yourself, make sure you're cutting on a stable surface, and if we do want to talk about the ergonomics today, make sure that your station is high enough that you have generally around a 90-degree angle while you're cutting for what we're doing for cutting today. Now, it does get a little bit different depending on what we're doing, but for ergonomically today, that's what we're going to do. But without further ado, I'm going to do a little bit of magic to get everything prepped. So let's go get into it. So as you can see, I've sort of chopped up the garlic nice and real tiny, and I've kind of just done a rough cut on the, little some water on the floor, but just sort of a rough cut on the bok choy. So it doesn't have to be really too hard. Just make sure everything's washed, cut it pretty roughly, because once it all cooks in there, it's not going to matter too much. So there you go. That is all the produce you're going to have to prep today. As well, we took an egg, we scrambled in a bowl. You're going to need that later, so take time to get that in the bowl and scramble right now, okay? When it comes to the sauce, you're going to combine it all in a bowl. So let's do that right now. 2 tablespoons of dark soy sauce. It's really thick, very flavorful, but don't try and drink this right away. It's gonna give you quite a kick, okay? 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce. It's super thick and takes forever to pour, but that's okay. Gives lots of good flavor, so 2 tablespoons. I believe in us, we got this. It's slowly coming out, it's like molasses. Boom, 2 tablespoons. 2 teaspoons of regular soy sauce. Now, I really like my soy sauce, so sometimes I just add a little bit extra in there, you know, it's fine. 2 teaspoons of white sugar, because you know what? None of us are sweet enough. And then finally, 2 tablespoons of water. Nice and easy, but 2 tablespoons. It helps every kind of sauce allow the sugar to dissolve and all that good stuff. So mix that all together and then, well, put it all in a bowl and then just start mixing it together till it's sort of all dissolved. It doesn't dissolve perfectly, but it does once it actually gets in the pan. So don't worry about it too much, but just give that a nice little stir. Now we're almost done prep work, but once we actually get to cooking, you're gonna wanna make sure that everything's ready to go because things start happening really quickly when we're done prep. So one thing I like to do to save a little bit of time is to start boiling the water down. Even if the water gets to a boil and you're not ready for it, just turn it off. It will boil way faster the next time around once you have it already warmed up. So keep that in mind for what we're doing today. And the last thing we're gonna want to prep today is our tofu. So make sure you open up, you get all the water out, give it a good squeeze, and you wanna make sure it's extra firm tofu because we gotta cook it before we actually add it to the dish. So yeah, there you go. We're just gonna get that prepped right now and I will see you on the other side. So I've chopped up the tofu, and I don't know if you can tell, but I've cut it this way, I've cut it this way, and I've cut it this way, just so that we end up with these nice little cubes, because they are gonna get a little fried and prepped before they go in the actual dish. So let's go start working on that. So for prepping our tofu, I have a nice cast iron frying pan that I've seasoned really nicely over the years, so it doesn't usually stick too much, but make sure whatever frying pan you use, take some time to oil it. Generally we want to do a little bit of a higher heat, so you're looking at like a canola oil or something like that, but whatever oil you have probably works fine for you. So yeah, feel free to do that. Go get it warmed up and ready to go on your pan, and then we're gonna add these to the pan and let them fry. So essentially you're going to be adding them to the pan, you're gonna give them a flip throughout, and generally we just wanna give the sides a nice little crunch to them. So you don't have to do every single side. Usually I do one side and then the other, and that's good enough, but if you do feel like it, you can do all sides. It's just gonna take you a little bit longer. So if we're looking for time, just do 1 or 2 sides, usually about 2 to 3 up to 5 minutes max, depending on the thickness of your tofu per side when we're doing this. So let's get them frying. I don't know if you're able to hear it, but here's the tofu in the pan, and you can probably hear it frying a little bit, right? Cool. Science, chemistry, cooking, who knows? Frying tofu. Do you hear that? That's magic happening in a pan. Because we're waiting for the tofu to cook. Now, I did just want to take a second so you can see what a crispy prepped one looks like. So as you can see, I've kind of done both sides of the tofu, but I haven't done it all the way through because like it's kind of nice when it's crunchy on the outside, has a good give on the inside. So essentially that's what you're seeing here, is that sort of cooked part of the way through, and it's going to cook more once it actually goes into the dish with everything else. So you're just prepping right now, we're getting them ready, and we got the second batch going right now. And when I mean magic, I actually mean just basic chemistry. Adding heat, changing it into something else. I don't know, but like, yeah, you get it. Did you know that it's okay and even ethical to eat chocolate while you cook? Just make sure you wash your hands afterwards. I'm waiting on the tofu. I'm gonna eat some chocolate. Washing my hands for 30 seconds. Crispy tofu. We have crispy tofu. Okay, so remember how I said once you have the tofu done, you're ready to actually cook, the whole meal comes together quite quickly? Well, this is that time. Who's excited? We're gonna have food in within 8 minutes, I bet. I'm not gonna put a timer, just believe through the magic of video that that's about how long this is gonna take. So start off by turning on your wok, adding some oil to it, and getting it nice and hot. We're looking like, you know, one of those dials with the numbers, we're looking like 7 on the wok, okay? You're gonna get it nice and hot, so do that. That's also the Google Home reminding me that it's time to start cooking. So stop, Google. There we go, and we are ready to go. We're making the pan nice and hot. If you got that water hot from boiling it, you're gonna add that right now. So get that water nice and hot, get it boiling again, because before you know it, we are going to be making noodles with it. So here we go. Okay, I'm a chef by no means, but you gotta do the garlic first. So give the garlic about 40, 50 seconds, maybe a minute cooking time before you add everything else. So we're just gonna throw this right in there. Nice and easy like that. For some reason, my stove started smoking. I don't know why, but I'm just gonna let it work itself out. Open a window to keep the smoke alarm from going off. If you don't want to scratch your pans, use a wooden spoon thing. I don't know. It helps move stuff around, right? But you want to make sure it's wood so you don't scratch your non-stick pan, so keep that in mind, unless you have cast iron, which I do. I love my cast iron. So we're just getting that garlic frying, make sure it's nice and aromatic, or whatever that means, or just cook it to a point where somebody comes into your kitchen and asks you what you're cooking. I'm here alone, so that won't happen, but that's usually a good ballpark, right? You just get the garlic cooking and someone walks up and says, what you're cooking. Who knows, it could be anyone, right? So you can probably smell it, but we're on video, but I'm gonna trust that you can smell it because you're doing this with me, right? You're gonna smell it and you're gonna add the bok choy now. Just giving it a nice tossing. The bok choy is actually gonna hold its shape really nicely, and it's not gonna break down too much, so just throw that right in there. So I'm just getting that bok choy to saute really nicely, nice high heat in the pan, and it's gonna be really noisy, but then you know you're doing good stuff. Now, that water that we prepped is now boiling again and ready to go, so take your noodles and throw them right in the pot. Now, they are gonna cook really fast. Like, they're probably gonna be ready within 2 minutes or possibly less, so really optimize your time and add that tofu in with the garlic and the bok choy. Look at that, good to go. So, quite simply, as soon as the noodles are ready, just grab onto them and throw them in the pan. And you're gonna wanna start tossing them and getting them mixed in with everything really quick. So just take a second, make sure those noodles are nice and mixed in with everything else that we're using in the pan. Otherwise they just stay sort of as a clump and that doesn't work too well. So I just like to take a second, get them all nicely mixed in. Now, by the way, don't get rid of the water that you have in the boiling pot right now. You can turn it off, but you are going to be adding a little bit of that water into the recipe just to thin out the sauce and make sure it covers everything. So, take the sauce and just pour it in right over top of everything. Make sure you get the sugar out with it because sometimes there's some extra sugar stuck on the bottom. Sometimes I like to help that along and I just rinse it out. Add that water in, nice and easily. And I'm going to take some of that hot pot water and add that in as well. Easy, right? And from there, you're just going to toss everything in that sauce. Now, we're also cooking at a very high temperature today, so it's going to cook really quickly, and all you gotta do is just wait for some of that liquid to cook off. It's literally gonna take like 1 or 2 minutes. It's not gonna take long for that liquid, but just take a second for that liquid to cook off. It also helps cook the tofu and the bok choy a little bit more. So shouldn't take too long, but as you can see, it's cooking away right in here. Now the final ingredient is the egg, and I know they say that you're supposed to take the egg and fry it on the side, like move everything to the side of the pan and then cook it like that, but I'm not that talented of a chef, so I just add the eggs in and let them scramble from there. So just pour them straight on top of everything and start tossing them in. So I just start, adding some movement, and I just let those eggs scramble into everything else on their own. And don't worry, they're delicious. While things are cooking, it's really good to clean up your kitchen while you do it, so make sure you put some condiments away. It smells like happiness in my kitchen. Particularly the eggs. Make sure you put the eggs away. I left them out overnight once and ruined them, so make sure you put the eggs away. Don't forget the eggs. They're important. And as you can see, well, you can't see, but I'm going to show you in a second, that the liquid has really cooked down now, and everything's really sort of connected together. It almost has like almost a caramel feel. Like it's much more saucy than liquidy in the end. And we're probably about 1 minute away from serving. And we are done. So as you can see, I have some delicious pad see ew right here, looking really good, ready to go. You can plate that really easily. Just throw it on some plates. And if you're looking to add a little bit of a kick to it or a garnish, you can always add some parsley to make it look pretty. Or personally, I like to crush up some roasted peanuts and throw them on there on top, and it adds a really nice kick. I know it's not in the recipe, but that's what I like to do. But that being said, thank you for joining me while we cooked pad see ew today, and I can't wait till the next cooking video. So thanks for joining the No Gym, No Problem cooking video, and I will see you next time.